All right, welcome to the first video and outside ISO podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something that my friend actually asked me last night, and I hadn't really thought of it before. He said that he thinks the Clippers are the only team that could beat the Nets in the finals. And so obviously that argument is dependent on the Nets beating the Bucks and the Sixers. But say that happens. Who do we think from the Western Conference has a legitimate chance of beating the Nets? And so basically his argument centered around the fact that the Clippers right now might have the only duo of superstars. Chris Paul and Devin Booker are what I consider a superstar duo, but Chris Paul's hurt right now. And for the Clippers, Kawhi has been playing amazing. There's really just no denying that. He locked down Luka in the second half of multiple games, and we got a motorcycle going by. And he played amazing on the offensive side of the ball. He shot amazing as well. There's really just no other way to say it. He was shooting great from three. He hit what felt like all of his mid-range jumpers. And so, yeah, that's really... I'm not going to spend too much time on that Clippers argument because I think we saw how dangerous they can be once they're running at full capacity. But what about the other teams in the West? For me, I felt like there are at least two others in the Nuggets and the Jazz that do have genuine shots at beating the Nets if they were to make the finals. What's interesting about the Jazz is I don't think in the last maybe 10 years we've seen a one seed in the West that has had so much doubts surround them. And I think that's somewhat justified. I mean, they are super reliant on the three ball. And when that doesn't go down in the playoffs, like we've seen with some of those Rockets teams, that can be really devastating for your team. But I think the difference is that they do have guys like Donovan Mitchell who, if the shots aren't falling, can drive to the rim. They have Rudy Gobert, who is a traditional center, and that also can be somewhat worrisome. But I don't see any guy on the Nets who can really match up well with Rudy Gobert. So, yeah, I do think the Jazz have a legitimate shot. They do have to make it out of the West, which is difficult, but I do think they have a chance. And I think they could put up a pretty decent fight against the Nets. And so finally, I think the Nuggets, even without Jamal Murray, could beat the Nets in a 7-game series. Michael Porter Jr. is playing pretty damn well right now. If you look at the quality of the shots he's taking, or at least the difficulty of them, he's knocking down difficult threes at a pretty extraordinary rate. And some of the kind of pieces around Jokic, like Monte Morris, are playing pretty darn well right now. And I don't know. I think that even without Jamal, that if you have Jokic, you always have a shot. And we know that the playoffs are all about matchups. The only team out west I really don't think could beat the Nets would be the Suns. And that really is based off the fact that, one, they're super young besides Chris Paul. And also Chris Paul seems to be hurt right now. He's battled through that. Props to the Suns for winning that game or that series in 6 games. But unless the rest does him really well, Chris Paul at less than 100% is not going to even make it out of the West, let alone beat a team like the Nets. So, yeah, that's really my take on that. I don't think it really is just the Clippers. I think that there's a few teams, especially if the Nets are without James Harden, which is a genuine possibility. We've seen how bad hamstring injuries can be, and there's no guarantee that all three of those guys, meaning Irving, Durant, and Harden, will be healthy. The thing I've really liked about these playoffs so far is the parity. The Warriors and the Lakers aren't even in the playoffs anymore. I saw a pretty crazy stat on the last time each team has made the finals, and it's pretty amazing that just the the amount of teams with great players who don't have rings and are still in the playoffs. So I'm really enjoying the games right now. A few series, like the Clippers and Mavs, had really intriguing storylines in terms of the away team winning and such, but the games themselves haven't been super close. So I'm just hoping for more close games. That Hawks-Sixers series is going to be good. Really, every series is going to be fun to watch. So anyway, I'd love to hear what y'all think about that take. Who do you think, say the Nets do make it to the finals, who do you think could beat them? And just let me know in the comments what you think of the episode. Thanks, y'all.